Okay, this is Waverine, which is for making abstract background motion type effects. Uh, let's have a look at the basic settings. We've got base form. We've got some options here that you need to do a bit of tweaking to have all those work. So let's start with size. Size is just your standard X, Y, and Z options. The amount is the amount of points or clones, and rotation obviously rotates this whole grid and such. Now let's say we have 50 by 50 clones. It's going to get pretty slow, and then we want some extras, so let's say 5 is going to create a grid of these. I'll just turn that down actually so it's easier to see. So we've got a grid of the clones, and this is where you can see the form shape work. So you've got a sphere option and cylinder. The more clones you have, the more obvious that shape is. Let's just go back to cubic, turn that off. Okay, and we'll go back to having 50 by 50. Now, next thing we have is the size options, which is how big these dots are, and random scale, so you can have more of a noise looking grid. So just back to 0. Okay, that's your basic form. Next option is noise displace. Now, noise displace is based on Maxon's noises, so we'll leave it at the default for now, and I'll just give it some strength and some scale, and then you can see nothing's happening because it's not actually displacing anywhere. That's where amount comes in. So we've got X, Y, and Z displace. So we'll just do that. Just turn the scale down a bit. As you can see, it's displacing them on Z depth at the moment. Or you can have X and Y. I'll just keep it on Z. And strength is how much it's going to pull out. Scale is the scale of the actual effect of the noise. So let's keep it something like that. And then we have animation speed, which, let's say we're on 1 and we start pressing play, it's going to start animating this waveform, and you can loop that with loop period. And the next thing we have is noise scale. Now what that does is that scales these clones up based on their height. So let's get it something like, I don't know, fire. As you can see, when they're at their peak, they're bigger. The clones get bigger than when they're at their lowest form, part of the form, and then they scale back down. So let's drag that down so it's not so intense, and let's get more clones so you can see just how detailed it gets. Let's stop that. So it's pretty hard to control with that many. You should do that later on when you're ready to render. So you can see you can change all your noise types, and the scale for each one is going to give you a different type of effect. So you got lots of options. Let's go back to noise. Okay, moving on. Color options. the projection type. What that's going to do is, because I've got an alpha option here, say we've got standard color like that, you can only just see that it's changing things, which is because if you look at each clone, it's individually affected by this with a gradient. Let's reset that. But if we turn off the it's going to kick in when we change the projection type. So if we go to flat, then you can see the gradient kicked in, and you've got all the options for how that looks. Let's go back to circular and back to UV. And the last options is shape, which is just general bend modifiers or deformers. Twist. That's all about getting the shape to be whatever the user wants for their background or whatever. So that's the basic controls for Waverine.